Hey everybody, and welcome to RPG Horror Stories with DnD Doge. In today's video, we have a tale about a player that has his character sell a powerful plot-relevant item, and when questioned on what happened to it, things go a bit out of control. And then we have a story about a group of Murderhobos that try to kidnap a king's daughter for felonious reasons. But before we get into that, here is Simba to give us some inspiration to help us get through these stories. There we go. Now I think we're ready to dive right into the cringe. How the problem player nearly TPK'd a party after selling a plot item for personal gain. By Reddit user Lord Zargzon. Hi there guys. This is my first post on this sub after being a long-time lurker, and sadly, today I finally have a story to share with all of you. This is the story of how our main character problem player almost killed an entire level 5 party after selling off a plot item. I'll start by introducing you to the cast. Me as a Twilight Domain Dhampir Cleric, DM as the Dungeon Master, Al as a Shepherd Druid multi-class human, Yang as a Celestial Warlock Sprite, Cass as a Stars Druid Tiefling, was not present for most of these events, and Jay as a Vengeance Paladin Kobold, the problem player. This text-based game takes place in a modified version of the Forgotten Realms 5e setting over Discord. It all started yesterday. We had just finished a multi-session quest line in Mirabar and recovered a divine, plot essential, weapon, which Jay got to use because the item best fit his build. This was a big mistake. Upon returning to Neverwinter, an assassin disguised herself as my character's mother to get close to the party in an attempt to steal it. This didn't work, and we ended up in a fight that almost killed the assassin in one round. But before we could land the finishing blow, the assassin disappeared in a puff of black smoke. I was worried, and decided to use the Mages Guild's teleportation services to visit my family manor in Baldur's Gate. The party followed suit, and we found out from my character's mom that things are fine there, and that there was nothing to worry about since she was here the whole time. We, as a party, decided to take a breather after the encounter, and parted ways for a bit to do our own things around town. Once we finished, Al and I met up in the manor lounge, with Yang in Al's pocket, resting. I spoke about a few important events with Al before Jay arrived. Side note, at this point, we knew out of character from the DM that Jay had just sold the weapon to the Mages Guild for a pittance, 100,000 gold pieces. He sold a priceless divine artifact for 100,000 gold pieces. Didn't even barter, and did it without asking for the party's input first. Al and I were getting pretty frustrated out of character since D&D is a game about trust and teamwork, and Jay broke that rule. We argued with him in a Discord text chat about why selling a plot item that was important to the campaign's main story was a bad idea. He didn't seem to really care, since all of his comments boiled down to, "Cry about it. It's what my character would do." And, "You can't punish me because that's metagaming." The Dungeon Master seemed to enjoy seeing this chaos unfold, and instead of stopping it as it escalated, he posted emojis and GIFs that seemed to do little more than irritate things. And I'll admit, I'm pretty upset and disappointed with him for allowing this player to just disregard and gaslight us like that. Eventually, the DM enforced an end to the argument after he decided it was going too far. We were upset, but ultimately, losing that item was not the end of the world. We figured there would be some hefty consequences for Jay's character in the party from now on, but we could still continue the plot, just with more difficulty. Little did any of us know about the tailspin that he was about to take us on. After the argument in text chat, we decided to resolve this in character, at the very least, so we could just address the issue and continue playing the game. Jay returned to the manor with a bag of holding, which with our current earnings, there was no way he could have afforded it, and naturally, we immediately noticed that the massive lance his kobold character had been carrying with him was missing, and the discussion went as follows. Al, Where's the lance?
Jay. Oh, this really nice lady wanted to see it, so I let her, and then she bought it for some shinies.
He said this as a joke to try and rile our characters up, which admittedly worked, given that it was half true. Al. What? Jay's character continued to laugh at his own joke throughout the conversation. Al. Jay, this isn't funny. Where's the lance?
Jay. It's somewhere safe. I didn't sell it to some stupid lady.
Al. Jay, no, you don't get to put it somewhere safe. Where is it?
Jay. Yes, I do. That assassin lady almost got it, so it's somewhere secret and safe. We're much easier to find, and they could hurt us while we were asleep or something.
He continued trying to lie, saying that the item was safe. We learned from the dungeon master after the fact that he had been rolling deception privately, not that it made a difference. Me. So where is it then? Al. You seem to misunderstand me. You don't get to keep that a secret from us. This is an artifact of a god that literally brought us back from the dead. We're in this as a group, and we, as a group, are responsible for it, not just you.
Jay. But other people can keep secrets from me? That isn't very fair.
His character's eyes begin to dart around the room, looking at Al and me, since we're questioning him. Al begins to stare daggers at Jay's character. Al. Excuse me? This isn't a secret, Jay. This artifact has as much to do with any of us as it does with you. It's not a device for you to start some petty argument about secrets.
Jay. You're the one being mean for no reason.
Me. Where is the lance, Jay? We're supposed to be a team. Al. I'm being mean for a very good reason, Jay. For all I know, you just sold a priceless divine weapon that we, collectively, are responsible for, and tried lying to our faces once you saw that we were mad about it.
Jay. You're not acting right. Both of you aren't.
Jay begins to back away while looking at us warily, evidently thinking that we were more assassins in disguise. Well, in character anyway. Me. What do you mean? We both want to know what you did with it. Al. Oh, no you don't. I'm acting exactly appropriately for this situation. This is serious, Jay.
Jay. No, you're not. Al was never this mean.
Me. Jay, just tell us what you did with it. His character has been inching towards the door and appears like he's about to flee. At this point, my character releases a little NPC sprite friend that I had recently bonded with to have him latch onto Jay since my character suspects he's going to do something. 5e sprites have an invisibility feature in their stat block, and through a sort of pact, I was able to communicate with him telepathically on the same plane. I planned to use him as a sort of tracking device so Jay could not escape from the party. Al. You're right, I wasn't, but right now we have a very big problem. We are being hunted by assassins. Our lives are at stake here, and now we don't even know where the lance is. That artifact, for whatever reason, has our lives written on it, and you won't say what you did with it. After hearing this, instead of trying to de-escalate things, his character decides that it would be a better idea to run away. My character shouts to chase after him, and soon enough, we roll initiative. Initially, Al and I rolled alright. I rolled a 14 and Al rolled a 12. Jay takes their roll and rolls poorly, but uses lucky to re-roll. The DM allows it, and they roll poorly again. He asks if he can use his inspiration, and the DM allows that too. So Jay finally rolled a modified 20 on their initiative, then proceeded to take over 5 minutes to finalize their turn. It should be noted at this point that Jay was playing solely over text and was not on voice comms with the rest of us. On his first turn, he deploys Durn's Instant Fortress. This item erupts into my character's family manor, destroying a large chunk of my home and forcing Al, Yang, and I to roll dex saves against a DC 15 saving throw. We all rolled low and took 10 d10 damage, totaling 54 points, and nearly wiping us all out. Yang, inside Al's pocket, is instantly unconscious, while Al and I are put on death's doormat. with Al only having 3 HP left, and me with only 2. Instead of letting him betray our characters and get away with it, we pursue him. I use my Twilight Sanctuary to grant me temporary HP, while keeping in touch with the NPC sprite to keep tabs on Jay. Al heals Yang before wild shaping into a wolf to give chase. Yang flies after him too, and we begin the fight, which is fairly short-lived. As previously mentioned, my character's family is wealthy, and Jay's character is quickly subdued by the manor guards before he can escape the grounds. The DM sounded frustrated by all of this, and asked us out of character if we wanted to continue playing with him. Everyone except Cass, who wasn't present to weigh in, said that they did not want to continue playing with Jay, and the DM ends the madness by having the guards detain Jay to end things peacefully. Jay decided to cast Misty Step and continued to try to escape, so the rest of the estate's guards opened fire on him, killing him instantly with 15 heavy crossbow bolts, 8 of which hit, totaling 107 damage. After seeing him get killed, I look into the bag to see that he sold the plot item for a +2 plate armor set, a blood axe, and 21,000 gold pieces. Just to reiterate, he sold the patron weapon of a god for 100k gold pieces, spent 79k of that on 2 generic magic items for himself, and tried lying about it. Jay has a long history of pulling stunts like this, and I have more stories about him from my own campaign to back that up if anyone is interested. He came close to killing my passion for D&D, and as far as I'm concerned, we let him stick around for way too long. He tends to suffer from main character syndrome, and has a pattern of manipulative behavior, argumentativeness, and gaslighting. After getting his character killed, he went into private messages with the Dungeon Master, where he accused the rest of the party of metagaming against him, the DM for intentionally screwing him over, and went on to leave the server voluntarily and unfriend all of us before we could kick him. I realize no one here comes out clean, but this is a group game that everyone should play for fun together. In the end, the DM admitted that he didn't think things would happen this way, and regretted letting Jay do what he did. We all agreed to retcon the whole thing after he left, and the DM wrote Jay out by having his character give the party the item, and then return to his homeland. TLDR, we heard from the DM, out of character, that our problem player sold a key plot item. His character tried to lie to the party by playing stupid, got caught anyway, then he decided to go on a rampage by destroying my character's family manor, and nearly killing the entire party in the process, with an instant fortress. In the end, he got his character killed unceremoniously by the manor guards after he tried to escape. He could not accept responsibility for the consequences of his actions, burned his bridges, and mercifully left our lives for good. Yeah, that probably wasn't the best thing to do with a plot-relevant item, but it sounded like Jay had a history of throwing things into chaos, among having main character syndrome, and the litany of other issues that guy presented. Some could blame the Dungeon Master for allowing him to do that, but that would just be taking away player agency. And like OP said, they could still possibly get it back in many creative ways that the DM could come up with, like a heist to steal it back from whoever Jay sold it to, or a quest that the new owner could send them on in exchange for them getting the item back. And I wouldn't say what OP and Al did in regards to the missing staff as metagaming, as you would think that a large staff being carried by a small kobold would be very noticeable, and him missing it even more so. But then things played out like they did in the roleplay, and in the end, Jay decided to just kick himself out of the game, which, with the mention of prior behavior, was probably for the best. Though, what are your thoughts on this one? Let's move on. My First 5e Experience by Reddit user Cat5Gaming. This is the story of my first ever time playing 5th edition, right after it came out, in a local game store. Obviously, since this is being posted here, you already know this did not go well, and I was the only woman at the table, which is sadly irrelevant. The cast of this story is as follows. My Dragonborn Ranger. She had dual hand axes, and I really loved her. Fighter. Not important to the story. A newer player like me. Then Rogue and Warlock. Friends of the DM and the OG players. The game store was one that I already frequented. I started playing D&D with 3.5. So when 5th edition came out, the first thing I did was sign up for a game. I got an email from the dungeon master of the group just 2 days later, who told me to come up with an idea for a character, and that I should probably play something that can heal. I show up, the DM greeted me, handed me a sheet, and introduced me to the 3 guys at the table. Fighter seemed pretty chill, and was just there to kick some butt and get loot. But with Rogue and Warlock on the other hand, Rogue immediately started trying to be playfully flirty, but at least not in a pushy way, while Warlock basically just stared at my chest most of the time. I think the most he said to me the whole time was hi. I think I found Warlock more amusing than anything else at first, because he just radiated awkward virgin energy. The DM asked what character I want to make, and I had come up with a Dragonborn Ranger. I would devote most of her spell slots to healing, and even took the medicine skill. The DM approved, helped me fill out my character sheet, and we got started. It was pretty standard fare at first. Meet in a tavern, and some NPC plot stuff. Fighter was introduced the previous session, so now my ranger gets her intro. So she goes over to the group's table to introduce herself. Then Rogue interrupts and gropes her. My character gets annoyed, and he just laughs and apologizes, saying that he thought she was the barmaid. Okay, it's juvenile humor, but aside from being a little awkward, it didn't bother me. As we spent time around town, and then visited this guy who was supposed to give us info, Rogue would occasionally sneak in a vaguely sexist or flirty comment about my Dragonborn, and that was the end of session 1. I was interested enough in the setup so far to deal with it, so I didn't say anything. The following session, we get into more heavy cross-country adventuring. I'm having fun, as exploring is something I really enjoy. The DM has maps and some pictures, and I'm loving it. After exploring some very interesting ruins, we set up camp for the night. Now, bear in mind that I've already decided that my ranger doesn't like Rogue very much, because he's been kind of a dick to her. Rogue then switches things up and starts trying to hit on my ranger, though she's not having it. So what does he do? Rogue casts Charm Person on my ranger, then encourages Warlock to do the same, which he does, and she fails both of the saves. The Dungeon Master describes her as feeling very friendly and relaxed toward both of them. They then proceed to get her into a threesome, which the DM thankfully fades to black. Session effing 2, and they just date raped my character, snickering about it the whole time. I messaged the DM immediately, saying basically, WTF dude, but he replied that they didn't break any rules. If I'm pissed about it, he said I should talk it out with them. Rogue seemed to think that it was all a big joke, and they were, quote, having fun, while Warlock was just smiling and nodding. That ended things on a sour note, and I would spend the next week going over a lot of stuff in my head. Now, I should mention that I'm no stranger to SA content. It probably doesn't shock me as much as it should. And here's the thing. If their characters had been portrayed as bad people, and Rogue and Warlock's players had handled the topic seriously, it would not have been so bad to me. I watch Game of Thrones and love it, and I'm okay with darker themes. It was just the fact that they made a joke out of it that really bothered me. I really love the DM's presentation and narrative though, so I decided to try one more time. Yeah, I know. And I went back for session 3. The first thing I did after taking a moment to focus myself was to tell Rogue and Warlock that it wasn't okay to make a joke of SA, that was my big problem. But I went on to say that I'm generally okay with some questionable themes, if they are taken seriously. I would end up very much regretting this. So what does Rogue do in Session 3? Enact a plan to kidnap the king's underage daughter and sell her into humanoid trafficking in order to get the money to fund the magic items that we need to explore the ruins. I was done. So I had my ranger quietly inform Fighter of her own plan, which I did enact. And it boiled down to abandoning Rogue and Warlock when we split up to go to different sides of the building, then promptly going to the town guard and telling them everything. Rogue and Warlock get caught in the act, and yelling ensues as the DM has their characters surrounded by guards. The Fighter stayed, but I then packed up my things and walked, though I did offer a thanks to the DM first, just because I had enjoyed some of the game. TLDR, my first 5th edition game consisted of my player character being sexually assaulted by another player character, and then later turning in said player character for attempted kidnapping of a little girl, all in the first 3 sessions. Thankfully, this experience didn't sour me on the game, and I would have many great groups and games after this. Well, first, that isn't how Charm Person works at all. The rules state that if the target fails to save, that they are charmed until the players do anything harmful to it, and I would put SA into that category, so shame on the DM for allowing that. Like OP said, dark themes are fine with many people in games like Dungeons & Dragons, as long as they are treated with the seriousness they deserve, and also a reason Session Zeros are so important, to make sure everyone is on the same page as to what type of themes the game will have. With OP stating out of game to Rogue and Warlock that she didn't appreciate how that all went down, them making a joke out of it, and then proceeding to go with a humanoid trafficking plot, I don't blame her for having her character go and turn them in, before packing up and leaving that game. And it's good to hear that this didn't sour OP's taste for tabletop RPGs, and that she continues to play with great groups to this day. But that is all I have for you today. As always, I appreciate all of you, and may your games remain horror story free. Until next time.